So in this topic, we're going to look at composition again, but this time we are going to be looking at it in terms of, rather than inputting numbers, we're going to input a variable expression. So for example, rewrite the secant of the inverse sine of u as an algebraic expression in u. Okay, so I know it looks a little weird, but we're going to do the same thing we've been doing on all of these composition functions. I know that the value of the inverse sine is going to turn out to be some angle. So I am saying that theta is equal to the inverse sine of u, or that the sine of theta equals u. Okay, so sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So I don't have a fraction here on the right hand side, so I'm going to make a fraction by putting this over 1. So remember, you can always turn anything into a fraction by putting it over 1. And now I'm going to draw a generic triangle because I don't have any information about like what quadrant or anything like that, since it's all in terms of variables. So we can just draw a generic triangle. And the sine is the opposite u over the hypotenuse 1. And then I have to use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a squared plus u squared equals 1 squared. So a squared plus u squared equals 1. So move the u to the other side. So a squared is equal to u squared, 1 minus u squared. 1 minus u squared. So a is going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus u squared. And we're just going to take the positive part. So square root of 1 minus u squared. And now we're looking for the secant of the inverse sine of u. And so that is going to turn into now the secant of theta, which I can read off of my triangle. So remember, secant is the cosine flipped over. So it's going to be the hypotenuse 1 over the adjacent, the square root of 1 minus u squared. So we'll try another one here. So the tangent of the inverse sine of 4w. So again, I'm going to let the inside stuff be equal to theta. So I'm saying that the sine of 4w equals theta, or that the the inverse sine of 4w equals theta, or that the sine of theta is equal to 4w. And again, I can put it over 1. So if I draw my triangle, we're saying the sine of theta, so the opposite, 4w, the hypotenuse 1. To find the missing side, we're going to have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a squared plus 4w squared equals 1 squared. So a squared plus 16w squared equals 1. So a squared is equal to 1 minus 16w squared. So a is going to be plus or minus 1 minus 16w squared. But again, we're not in any particular quadrant, so we're just going to take it to be the positive one. So 1 minus 16w squared. And now we're in a position where we're really just looking for the tangent of theta, and the tangent of theta is the opposite, 4w over the adjacent, square root of 1 minus 16w squared. And that's as far as you can take it. You cannot break that down any further.